In the vast lands of the kingdom of Adrivia, where castles scraped the skies and forests held ancient secrets, Elawen was born the only daughter of Duke Thader of Branwen, one of the most influential nobles at court. From birth, Elawen was raised as a precious asset, taught to obey, smile with grace, and silence the desires of her heart. Her father, ambitious and cold, always knew his daughter was a piece on his political chessboard. By the age of 16, Elawen had already refused 6 marriage proposals, all from wealthy heirs, nobles and military men. But none of that mattered to her until she met someone who made her world tremble. It happened during one of the king's hunting trips in the flowered hills of Aldebaran when Elawen first saw Caelan. He was a simple blacksmith's apprentice, with eyes the color of wet earth and hands calloused from labor. Yet he spoke with wisdom, walked like someone who understood the winds, and smiled with the calm of a man who owed nothing to the world. She saw him tending to the horse of an injured knight and was instantly enchanted by the tenderness in his touch. Over the course of several months, through secret meetings by the lake and letters left beneath stones, Elawen and Caelan fell deeply in love. It was an intense, silent, and forbidden love. They dreamed of a life in the mountains, far from the court, where no one would dictate their choices, where love wouldn't need permission. But like everything that blooms too brightly in the shadows, their love was discovered. Duke Thader was furious. He had Caelan imprisoned for insolence and threatened to send him to the salt mines. He would have done it if not for Duchess Maren Elawen's mother, who intervened in secret and managed to have the boy released. But she ordered that he leave the kingdom or face death. Heartbroken, Caelan vanished into the forests. Elawen cried for many nights, locked in her chamber, refusing food, gowns, and visitors. Then, 2 months later, her father announced her engagement to Lord Hadrian, son of the Marquis of Verith, a strategic alliance between 2 of Adrivia's most powerful families. Lord Hadrian was everything a nobleman was expected to be: rich, handsome, and arrogant. His smile was hollow, his gestures cold, and his eyes saw Elawen not as a woman, but as a trophy. The ceremony was set for the winter solstice, under the blessing of the archbishop and in front of the king's court. But Elawen still dreamed of the mountains. On the eve of the wedding, as the castle filled with flowers, musicians, and noble guests, Elawen hid a woolen dress beneath her nightgown, braided her hair into simple plaits, and escaped through the east tower. She took the white horse Caelan once said suited her best and rode off into the night, guided only by the stars and the echo of the name she loved more than anything in the world: Caelan. She rode for 2 days without stopping. On the morning of the 3rd day, she reached a wooden cabin hidden among the pines of Valadorn, where wolves howled and snow arrived early. And there he was, older from the months of exile, but with eyes still full of light. He saw her, dropped the axe he'd been using to chop wood, and ran to her. There were no words, only an embrace that seemed to stretch through eternity. That night, Elawen burned her wedding veil and danced with Caelan under the full moon, barefoot on the snow, laughing as if she owned the world. Years passed. While the Duke of Branwen sent men to search across all known lands, hiring trackers, questioning travelers, and offering rewards, Elawen lived the life she had dreamed of. She picked berries, baked barley bread, raised goats, and taught her children to speak with the birds. She had 2 sons and a daughter, each born with their father's eyes. Caelan had built her a true home made of stone, wood, and love. But one day, as winter melted and the first buds peeked through the ground, armed riders appeared on the mountain trails, led by an old man with eyes just like Elawen's Duke Thader. He had found his daughter. Mounted on a black horse, dirty from travel, he rode down with his soldiers and stopped before the cabin. Elawen was in the yard, washing her children's clothes with hands wrinkled from cold water. Caelan appeared with a bow strapped to his back, ready to protect his family. But Thader raised his hand. He didn't come with swords. He came with guilt. The years had hardened the Duke's heart, but they had also hollowed it. The death of his wife, the loneliness in the stone halls of the castle, and the failure of the arranged marriage, which was annulled just months after Elowen disappeared, had aged him more than time itself. You chose this place instead of a throne?" he asked without dismounting. Elowen raised her face, smudged with soap but glowing with peace. "I didn't choose a place. I chose a life. I chose love." Thader looked at the children running among the trees. The grandchildren he'd never known. The granddaughter who looked him straight in the eye and waved without fear. And then the once mighty Duke, feared by nobles and knights alike, lowered his head. For the first time, without orders, without threats. Only silence, acceptance. "I just wanted to know you were alive," he said quietly. "Now, I can die in peace." And he left. From that day forward, no one from the kingdom ever tried to take Elowen back from the mountain. Kaelin planted more apple trees. Their children grew and learned to write with eagle feathers. And Elowen, the girl who refused a castle, lived until her hair turned white, beside the man she had loved from the very first glance. And when she told this story to her grandchildren, she always said, "Running away was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it was also the most truthful. Sometimes you have to lose everything, just to finally find yourself."